Starship Uncrewed Lunar Lander Test a Skeleton of Crewed Lander. LAUREL MD. A SpaceX Starship that will land on the moon on an uncrewed test flight may only be a skeleton of the version of that will carry people on the Artemis 3 mission, NASA says. In a presentation here at NASA's Lunar Exploration Analysis Group, or LEAG, annual meeting on August 23, the Human Landing System, or HLS program, will conduct this unmanned landing demonstration mission. The spacecraft won't necessarily be the same vehicle that will be used to transport astronauts to and from Artemis 3's lunar surface in 2025, he said. For the uncrewed demo, the goal is to have a safe landing, she said. The uncrewed demo is also not necessarily planned to be the same Starship that you see for the crewed demo. It's going to be a skeleton because it just has to land. It does not have to take back off. Clearly we wanted to, she added, referring to a takeoff, but the requirements are for it to land. Scheduled by 2024, this unmanned landing is an important test ahead of the manned Artemis 3 mission. Watson Morgan said the unmanned landing would take place in the South Pole region of the moon, but the landing site, including whether it was one of the 13 regions NASA announced on August 19 that it had conducted the Artemis 3 mission. One factor in choosing a landing site, she said, was to preserve science for the future by not interfering with the Artemis 3 landing site. You have the opportunity to do some science with an unmanned demonstration landing. That would involve flying an array of sensors and imagers, and possibly payloads, though it did not specify what types of sensors or payloads could be flown. The payloads NASA was interested in flying some types of do not require a huge amount of maintenance. However, she and others said it maximized the performance the Starship would offer on a moon landing and could carry a large payload. In the original HLS competition, in addition to 2 astronauts, only 100 kilograms of cargo had to be carried to and from the surface. But NASA's HLS service manager Logan Kennedy said that later sustained missions would have required it to carry 182 kilograms to the surface, said to increase to she came back 160 kilograms with a target of 1,000 kilograms down and back. We're going to leverage all that we can on this mission to try and take up and down as much as we can, using the size of their system, Watson Morgan said. She said SpaceX has been a fantastic partner for HLS so far, with a close working relationship between the company and the agency. SpaceX has been involved in the Artemis 3 landing site selection process and has confirmed that the potential landing area is compatible with their Starship. Meanwhile, NASA will have personnel, including astronauts, visit SpaceX's facilities for inspection and hardware testing. This includes one of the Starship's unique attributes, the elevator required to move from the crew cabin to the surface. It's a very tall lander. It doesn't look like the traditional landers that we've all seen in the past, so it can be hard to reconcile that mentally, Watson Morgan said. She assured scientists at the meeting that the elevator design was robust, saying it was multi-fall tolerant and designed for operating in lunar conditions. In his presentation, Kennedy showed images of a full-scale mock-up of the elevator that SpaceX built for crew in the loop tests, including ones where astronauts wore simulated spacesuits to test the ability to get in and out of the elevator. However, some aspects of Starship's overall lunar landing architecture remain unknown. The lander operational concept envisions SpaceX launching the spacecraft into low Earth orbit and acting as a fuel reservoir to be filled by subsequent spacecraft launches that will act as tankers. The lunar lander Starship will then launch, refuel the tanks at the depot, and fly into lunar orbit. However, neither NASA nor SpaceX stated exactly how many launches would be required for a single Starship lunar landing mission, an issue during last year's SpaceX Blue Origin HLS award protest. How many? However many is needed, that is how many will launch, Watson Morgan said. NASA's requirements for HLS missions end when the astronauts return to Orion. We don't tell them to do anything with it, Kennedy said of the fate of the Starship lander after returning astronauts from the lunar surface. That's going to be up to SpaceX.